Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Jessica Chill, and I tell story times, I vlog, I do a bunch of different things, but I haven't been around in a few months, about 5 months to be exact, but I have some really great news anyways. I just reached 1,000 subscribers. Yay! Thank you to everyone that helped me reach that. I decided a while back, while I was on my break, that if I reached 1,000 subscribers, I would tell a really juicy story that I haven't told y'all before. Obviously, every story is a new story that I haven't told you before, but today is going to be a pretty good one. Oh, well, a pretty wild one that happened to me when I was 18 years old. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's life. You live and you learn. So, before I get into the story, I want to let y'all know that if y'all see my video kind of jumping around, it's because I got my tripod set up, ready to film, and couldn't find the little clip thing that I set my camera on. So, I'm having to hold the camera. That's why I'm only got one hand at a time up. Just excuse that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna jump right into the story now. This takes place when I was 18. Like I said, I was a wild child, as most people know, and I was living in Houston, Texas at the time with my grandfather. Now, I had gotten a job at a tattoo parlor first. That didn't work out. There was drama. So anyways, I ended up becoming a waitress at a gentleman's club. I had never done anything like that before, and so I didn't know what I was walking into, and I was at the time down for anything. So I got a job as a waitress, and I had worked there for like a week, and there was this guy that came in that was like a regular. All the waitresses knew him and stuff, and I got to know him a little bit. Well, I'd been in I'd been in Texas for a couple of months, and I was starting to get homesick. So I convinced this guy to take me home back to Mississippi for the weekend. Apparently, he thought that he was going to get more than just giving me a ride. That's not what I had in mind at all. I was pretty much using him, but he thought that it was something completely different. So he decided that he would take me. Hang on a second. So he decided he would take me. He agreed. And when he takes me after my shift one night, he takes me to my grandfather's house. I pack up all my stuff, and we hit the road going to Mississippi after not having any sleep at all. And he was drunk, I wasn't, but so I drove, and I just had a permit. I didn't have my license yet. I only had a permit. Well, we get to going down the road. Everything's fine till we hit the Chafalaya Bridge in Baton Rouge, in Louisiana. And that's like a 22-mile bridge. If y'all don't know, it goes over the bayou. And I was going about 75. If you know anything about that bridge, the speed limit is 55. And the highway patrol is really strict on the speed limit on that bridge. So apparently somewhere in there they clocked me at 75. And when I went to get off the bridge at the very end, I noticed that there was a highway patrol sitting on the side of the road right past the bridge, and there was 18-wheelers, like one beside me, one behind me, and one in front of me. So in order not to get caught, I drove past the 18-wheeler, and then once we passed the cop, I kind of cut the 18-wheeler off, which was really dumb and dangerous, but I was 18 and I only had my permit. I didn't know any better. So I cut the 18-wheeler off, and then that cop pulls me over. It's two guys in this cop car, and he gets me out, and he's questioning me and the other guy. We'll call him Sean. So he's questioning me and Sean separately, and he asked me how I knew him. I was like, well, we've been friends for a long time. Lied pretty much. And then he comes back and he was like talking to the other guy, to the other cop, and he was like, their stories don't match up at all. And he asked me, he's like, how old are you? And I told him, I was 18. And he asked me where I worked. I was like, at a strip club. I'm a waitress. And then he goes back and starts talking to the other guy. Well, the cop that was questioning me starts asking me about my tattoos and my piercings, and then asked to see them. He was a complete douchewad. But they ended up letting me go without a ticket. They just gave me a warning because I guess I don't know what they were thinking was, but they let me go with a warning, without giving me a ticket. And we get back on the road. Well, we get to my grandma's house in Mississippi, which is where my dad and my brothers were staying. And I introduced Sean to my family, and I could tell he was completely uncomfortable because my family's redneck as hell. Like, I mean, we're redneck family, and this guy didn't seem too much on that level. The first night we were there, I decided to call up some old friends and we could go hang out with them. And we go out with them, like, we get drunk and go to a friend's house, play pool. It was fun for me. But apparently Sean didn't enjoy it too much because he was ready to go back to my grandma's house the whole time. And staying at my grandma's house, like, we had a camper that me and Sean stayed in. And that night we get back to the camper and he's like, you want to sleep on the bed with me? And I'm like, no, I'm not sleeping with you. I like sleep over on, there's like 2 beds, so you could have one and I'll have one. And he was acting really pissy about it. And he ends up going to sleep. And the next day, we get up, we hang out with my family for a while, and then we go out with some other friends and we just go riding around. Pretty much the same thing we did the night before. Well, come Sunday morning, Sean's ready to go. He's ready to go home. And I wanted to stay a little bit longer, but, I mean, he was my ride. Yeah, sorry, excuse me. It's my neighbors. He was my ride, so I wasn't going to, argue with him. But I decided pretty much while I was there that I was going to go back to Houston, get my stuff, and come back home because I missed my family a lot. I mean, I had my family in Texas, but I missed my family in Mississippi, and I missed my friends and stuff. So I decided then that I was gonna ride back with Sean, but then whenever I got back, I was just gonna take a bus or something and come back home to Mississippi. Well, Sunday morning we get up and we get loaded up in the car, and when we get to Lake Charles, he pulls over where the casino is, and he's like, I'm gonna go in here and gamble for a little bit. You can hang out in the parking lot. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I'll just walk around, and there's like a lake right there, so I was like, I'll just walk around and check out the sights or whatever. You can take your time. He said, I'll only be in there like 30 minutes. I said, all right, that's cool. So he goes in, and then I, start walking around. I run into these 2 guys. There's a black guy and a white guy, and we'll name them Trevor and Ben. Trevor and Ben. So I get to talking to Trevor and Ben, and they seem really, really cool. Like, Ben was a preacher's son. They were both from Austin, but Ben was like in Lake Charles working. He was like this genius guy that worked for a refinery or something. So he was really smart. And Trevor was just cool, like really cool. And after, like 20 or 30 minutes, I was like, well, my ride's probably about ready to go, so I'm gonna walk back to the car and wait for him at the car. Well, we get back to where the car was, and the car's gone. Like, completely gone. We looked all over the parking lot. This dude done left me. I mean, he left me. He took all my stuff, like all my clothes and stuff were in his car. He took everything and bounced. I never heard a word from this guy again. I was freaking out. I'm like, what am I going to do? This guy just left me, like, with nothing but the clothes on my body and hit the road. Like, I was stranded. Well, Trevor and Ben, they were pretty cool. So they were like, hey, you can come hang out with us for a couple of days so you can figure something out. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm down to do that. So we go back to their hotel and we hang out and stuff, and they're really, really cool. Like, they didn't really try anything on me or anything like that. And they were like, well, tomorrow we're going to Austin, because we got to, go pick up some stuff, and then we'll give you a ride back to Houston. I'm like, hey, that's cool. I'm completely down with that. So we go. I stay with them that night, and the next day we head to Texas A&M, and we go there, and I mean they went to get ecstasy, so that is what it is. I mean, when I was 18, I was down to do whatever, so we get some X and we take it, and then we head to Austin. And their house in Austin was really cool. Their friends and stuff were awesome. We ended up going to some club that night, and I had a lot of fun. Like, I had a blast with Trevor and Ben. And the next day they were like, well, we can take you back to Houston, or we can get you a bus ticket to Mississippi. And I was like, well, I still need to go to Houston to get all the rest of my stuff. And yeah, then I'd love to get a bus ticket back to Mississippi. So they take me, we go back to Houston, we go to my grandpa's, I pack all my stuff, tell him I love him and bye. And then we head back to Lake Charles. And Trevor ended up staying in Houston because he had friends there he was hanging out with, so it was just me and Ben. And I get back to Lake Charles with Ben and staying in his hotel, and it was like a week. This dude would not get me a bus ticket. Like, he let me take his car. I mean, he was going to work and coming back, and he was really tired, so he was wanting to go to sleep or whatever, so he'd let me take his car. And I remember it was like the day the Toxicity album for System of a Down came out, because he took me to the mall and bought the album for me like that day. And then I rode around for hours just playing that CD over and over and over while this guy's at his motel room sleeping. And then, like a day or so passes, and he starts trying to hook up with me, and I was like, no, like, I'm not into you like that. And he was like, oh, you're just one of those girls that want to use nice guys and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to use you. I mean, I pretty much was using him, but I wasn't trying to. I was like, I really do think you're a cool guy or whatever, but I'm just not into you like that. And that's when I found out that preachers' kids, or not all preachers' kids, but a lot of preachers' kids, because I've met some more since then that were the same way, but they were like, he's a jerk, he was a douchebag. He come off really nice and sweet at first, but it was all because he wanted to have sex with me. And whenever he finally figured out I wasn't going to have sex with him, like, it was a whole different ball game. Like, I saw a whole nother side to him. And it was a messed up situation for me. So finally, this dude had enough of my shit. And he was like, I'm going to get you a bus ticket tomorrow back to Mississippi. He's like, after that, I don't want to hear anything else from you. Don't contact me. Don't call me. And I'm like, all right. I mean, that's fine with me. I mean, that's what I wanted anyways. Like, I didn't want to stay here for a week with you in a motel. I mean, it was boring as crap to begin with. So it worked out fine. So the next day comes around. He puts me on a bus, and I go back to Mississippi. And I mean, that's the story. I don't guess it was that juicy, but it was just a series of unfortunate events that happened to me when I was 18, because I made some really stupid decisions. Wayne taking off with a series of guys that I didn't know, which I always did that. Like, I remember this one particular time being at a gas station with a couple of people, and then these guys pull up in this big jacked up truck, blaring music, going in buying beer and hollering, whooping and screaming like they were about to go to a party. I asked them, I was like, what are y'all doing? They're like, oh, we're about to go to a party. You want to go? Yeah, sure, I'd love to go. So I hopped in the car with them. I never met them guys a day in my life. And the only thing I remember about that night was being at some people's house I didn't know, and I drank so much I threw up in their living room floor, and this woman screaming at me, get the out of my house. I'm sorry, I don't know who that was. If that chick by chance watches this video, I'm sorry. I was 18. I was stupid. And I drink a lot. So, anyways, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and I will start making more videos. And I decided that if y'all can get me to 1,500 subscribers, then once I hit 1,500, I will do a giveaway. So, until next time, remember to click that subscribe button, like this video, and I will see you later. Peace out.